Hi there. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2019. This is the library board meeting. We have a quorum, so we will proceed. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at the agenda. I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as it is. Do I have a second?
I will make a second to your motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or any changes? Any?
Notations.
Okay. All in favor of approving the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then let's move on to the minutes. And I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the minutes from our last meeting on March 14th. Do we have a second? We have a second, and do we have any discussion or changes or corrections? Okay, in that case, all in favor of approving our minutes from our last meeting? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, then we'll move on to the financial report, and that will be from April.
That begins on page 5 of your packets. We are 25.48% through 2019, and our budget is approximately 18.35% expended. Contractual maintenance building bills this month included payment to Riverview Sanitation, which is our normal trash removal. We also have contractual maintenance books bills with our vendor Demco for book processing supplies. We made a couple different orders there. The larger order for CD cases and the inserts for those cases, tape and labels, was a large order that we expect will last us much of 2019. So we don't expect to put a big order in again for those kind of items, just as needed.
And what were those items?
The cases for audiobooks and the sleeves that go inside the audiobooks to carry the
Okay.
CDs. And then we also bought book tape and then different labels that we use for the books.
Anything else for April on the financial? Okay, thank you. And let's move on to the librarian's report.
Okay, that begins on page 13 of your packets. The University of Minnesota Library's archivist Rachel Matson visited the library on March 2nd. She spoke with Paulina and Lisa and helped them do some setup of the memory lab. They also, Paulina and Lisa also were able to participate in a Google Hangout with the project manager from the DC Public Library on March 8th to continue troubleshooting some of the equipment. We're currently focusing on setup for audio and DV conversions. During the setup, we did find that we were missing one of the pieces of equipment. I believe it was one of the machines that we would actually use to convert. So we have one on order at this point, but we haven't received it yet. But that ordering process is a little complicated because they are older used equipment often that we're looking for, so sometimes it can be tough to find them. So we're still working on final setup of the memory lab.
But you do think you said you found one?
We found one.
Okay.
We're just waiting for it at this point. The Wandagog Committee met on March 7th and discussed adding a plaque to commemorate Wandagog near the sculpture on the outside of the library building. They'll meet again, or they met again on March 28th to discuss the what the plaque will say and quotes for creation of the plaque. And you do have a resolution that we'll move to later to approve that information. The middle school outreach was conducted on March 7th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. When we say outreach, we mean the delivery and pickup of items, as well as some continued training for the staff at the middle school for working with our Sierra library system software that we use. So far, that's going well. We continue to see an increase in the materials that we're taking over each week. Usually it's at least a cash-wise box full to give you an idea of how much we're taking over, and Paulina has been doing most of those deliveries. But we seem to have ironed out some of the initial kinks we had with the access that the librarians at the school had to checking items out for their students. So it's going well. So we look forward to continuing that pilot project and see where it takes us. You'll also have a resolution for our surplus, which are items that we are clearing out of our storage area. They're either unused or unusable items. We plan to continue clearing those out on a quarterly basis. It's a project we haven't been able to focus on the last few years, and so we've got some technology items especially that have been piling up. Items that we rotate usually on a 3 to 4 year basis, just to make sure everything's up to date in the library technology. We are currently obtaining quotes for replacement of the 2 trees that were removed from the boulevard last fall. So we expect to bring those quotes to the board meeting next month for your approval and selection of a vendor. Chris Wilczek started as a volunteer at the library on March 6th. She'll be focusing on digitization projects for the library, which includes the fire department photos. We're working on a project with the fire department, which was a grant that Chris Wiley had applied for, along with Paul Mako, the fire chief, to digitize their photos that they had, their historical photos, in preparation for the 150th anniversary of the fire department next year. So Chris Wilczek has been helping us digitize those. And then we also have one of our children's library aides, Carla Feld, has announced her retirement. She'll be retiring as of April 27th. The plan, which was approved by the city's HR director, is to move Amy Eveslag into children's aid hours only. She had been splitting her time between the children's room and the service desk. When we originally had her splitting her time, the plan was for her to move into the children's aid when Carla retired. So that's what we'll be doing, and then we'll be hiring a library aide to fill Amy's hours at our service desk, and that position has been posted internally.
How long has Carla been at the library?
Over 20 years. I think it's longer than that, though, but I don't have the exact years for you today.
Okay, thank you, April. And did that include programming, or are you moving to that next?
Can we go to that next?
Any questions for April concerning the librarian's report? Okay.
All right, for programming, I wanted to do a recap of the adult winter reading program. This year we did bingo cards. We had 47 bingo cards completed and 188 books read. I did not bring the numbers with me from last year for participation, but this year was down, and I think it was due to the format that I used. So I'll be rethinking that next year. I think this year was a little bit more intensive for the participants, and so it might have discouraged some of them from turning in cards because they had to complete a bingo row. So I'll be
What's that? What was that?
they had to complete a full bingo row to turn in their card to participate. So I think I'll kind of rejigger that for next year so that we can encourage more people to participate. We did have 2 people who won a $25 Chamber certificate for each of them, and then each participant also got to pick out a free book to take home. So, and that's pretty typical of the prizes we've offered in past years. On March 28th, we concluded the Becoming American documentary film and discussion series. We had a good discussion and great documentaries that we watched. The documentaries are available now for checkout at the library for anyone who missed some or all of the sessions. I want to thank our partners, the Brown County Historical Society and the Grand Center for Arts and Culture, and also City Lore, who created the program for us, and the National Endowment for the Humanities, who funded it. So it was a great program. We averaged between 15 to 20 participants each week, which was a good size for discussion, I thought. In upcoming adult programs, on Tuesday, April 23rd at 6:30 p.m., Kevin Hoffman will be coming to discuss his book Trial and Triumph. This is a book that was translated from the original German book, which was called New Ulm, which was a book that he found, I believe, at the Historical Society when he lived here when he was younger. And he had always had an interest in that book, and then he decided to take on translating it. So he'll be coming to talk about the process of translating and the book itself next Tuesday. On Thursday, April 25th at 6:30 p.m., Sue Happel will be presenting the applique art of Cairo tent makers. Sue has visited Egypt annually for the past several years, and she has taken a deep interest in the art of the Cairo tent makers and the embroidery that they do on the outside of tents. So she'll be coming to share some photos that she's taken and just talk about her interest in their art. On Tuesday, April 30th at 6:30 p.m., Bryce Stenzel and Julie Schrader will present their new book, Boy in Blue, which is about the statue, the Boy in Blue statue in Mankato's Lincoln Park. So they'll be talking about the initial implementation of the statue as well as restoration efforts that they took part in the past few years. In upcoming children's events on Monday, April 22nd at 10 a.m., we have an Earth Day musical story time. Andrea Lynn Gerke will be providing music for us, and Catherine Tatnall, our children's librarian, will be doing the stories. And then on Thursday, April 25th, from 3:30 to 5 p.m., the Lego Club will meet. They've been meeting the fourth Thursday of the month and will continue through May. The time will change for summer reading and then go back to the fourth Thursday in the fall. I also wanted to offer an update. We've changed our book group ordering procedure that will begin with the May selections. Paulina and I have visited each of the book groups to discuss this. In the past, what we've done for the book groups is place individual holds on each of the books for the individual members of our book group. But what has happened is not everyone has come to pick up their books. And so we've had books sitting on the shelf waiting for someone who hasn't come to pick it up, and then other members not able to get a copy because they're tied up on the shelf. So what this is going to do is just allow us some more flexibility with those books. We'll order copies, enough copies for each person in the group as long as we can get them, and then people can just come pick them up at the desk, and it'll be more first come, first served.
How many book groups are there that you've spoken to?
We have 4 book groups at the library, our mystery, adult, and history book groups. And then there's also a poetry book group, but we don't have to order for the poetry book group. They bring their own selections each month. We also manage the ordering for the Brown County Historical Society's book group, as well as some other individual book groups for, like there's a play reading group and one of the, I'm blanking on the name, the German Place book group. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting that name, but there's several others that are not library book groups that we do order for. So there's probably 7 that we're doing ordering for at this point.
Cool.
I'll throw in a plug there. Bernice and I have gone to a number of those, and the discussions on the books are usually fantastic.
Well, there are a lot of people in that group that are historians. I mean, they love history, and I learn a lot just by listening to what they have to say about the books we're reading. So it's a, if you're not really into history, it's a good start. Just go and listen, read the book, and
In fact, you can almost come without reading the book sometimes and just listen to people talk, and then you can just about get what it was about. So, yeah.
Cool. Anything else for April for the programming? Okay, then let's move on to our action items. We have, 4 to look at today? The first is Resolution 2019-06, first reading and adoption, approving the plaque commemorating Wanda Gog. And there is facsimile of its information attached.
And there's also on the back of that facsimile, there's a mock-up of where the plaque would be located
Okay.
on the outside of the library.
Okay, so here we go. The Wanda Gog Sculpture Committee would like to donate a plaque engraved with a brief biography of Wanda Gog to help explain the Wanda Gog sculpture in front of the library. They currently have bids out to local vendors. If accepted, the bronze plaque, which will be 16 inches by 12 inches, will be mounted on a concrete pillar outside the library near the sculpture. And I just have a question. Is it going to look like this as far as you know, April?
To my knowledge, this is very similar to what the final product would look like.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve this resolution, 2019-06?
So move.
I'll second.
Thanks, and any other discussion?
When I first looked at it, I was not too thrilled about it until I saw that it was going to be mounted then on the library itself. And as long as we go along with that, I'm in favor of it. If we're going to put a sign out there, I don't know if I am. So as long as it's against the building, I think that's fine. Otherwise, I think it's starting to look cluttered out there. That's my own opinion. And then the second thing I would have on that, do they have something similar to this outside at the house itself? Or is everything just inside?
They have the big
There's
They
the
have,
one,
like, the big
the one
sign.
sign out there, so, okay.
at the house.
Right.
Right, there's a big, like I think it's a historical sign.
And they're not gonna duplicate that then down here, I take it.
No, as far as they've made clear in their plans to us, it's just this plaque.
This is
Yeah.
Just that plaque there,
They
okay?
they had considered basically the opposite side of this pillar inside the library, but they thought it made more sense outside where the statue is, and they couldn't really identify a place where they thought the plaque would look nice right around the statue. So they thought on the building.
On the building. And
Would be good.
I agree too with that, so.
It's kind of hard to see, but maybe you guys can help. Can someone stand in front of that plaque and not run into the bench if they want to read it? Or do you have to be like on the bench to read it?
No, the benches are sitting in front of, there's a barrier between the mulch here and the building, and there's rocks right up against the building.
Oh, okay.
So the benches sit in front of that rock
All right.
area.
Oh, yeah, that's, okay, I get it. All right, any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor of approving this, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, resolution is approved. Next one. Resolution 2019-07, approving recommendation to designate library items for surplus. The library is assessing technology and other items that long have been unused and are located in the storage basement. These items are old, outdated, dilapidated, broken, and/or unneeded. As these items accumulate over time, storage space fills up and becomes congested. None of these items have residual value to the library. The items will be made available to all city departments. What remains will be disposed of through a local recycling program or discarded. Attached is a copy of the surplus catalog as prepared by the Assistant Library Director, April Ide, and Library Director, Paulina Poplawski. So do we have a motion for Resolution 2019-07?
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
Thank you, and any discussion?
April, did you say something about you're gonna try to do this quarterly now?
Yes, we just have a backlog of stuff right now, so we want to get through, so we're using our space well in our storage area. We often find it cramped when we start to receive donations for the Friends of the Library sale in the fall, and there's a larger area that we could open up as kind of a staging area for that, if we were able to clear out some of these unnecessary items.
We haven't been doing it on a quarterly basis. I mean, I can remember one other time that we got rid of some stuff once or twice, but it hasn't been on a regular basis.
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And number 3 will be Resolution 2019-08, first reading and adoption, accepting January 1, 2019 through March 31, 2019 donations and memorials. The attached list describes donations received by the library between January 1, 2019 and March 31, 2019. The Library Board of the New Ulm Public Library accepts these donations with gratitude to the donors. So, do I have a motion for this resolution?
So move.
I second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I will make a comment in my capacity as sitting in this chair today. I'd like to give a shout out to the cast and crew of Drinking Habits in memory of my brother-in-law, John Merrimack. You crazy, wonderful people, thank you very much. Anything else from anybody?
Thank you to the donors.
Yes, thank you. All right, all in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries, and we'll move on to the last one. Resolution 2019-09, approving Memory Lab policy and participant release form. The library was accepted into the Memory Lab network as part of the DC Public Library's Institute of Museum and Library Services National Leadership Grant. The grant was accepted by the Library Board in February of 2018. New Ulm Public Library was identified as a project partner. The DC Public Library Memory Lab is a digitization lab. Oh, I feel for you, April. And digital preservation resource created as a local response to the national needs for free public access to tools and information on caring for personal digital archives. Memory Lab network partners receive training, mentoring, and financial support to create, here we go again, digitization stations and curriculum to build public knowledge and skills around the problems of personal digital archiving through their own Memory Lab programs. As part of the grant, the library needed to establish a Memory Lab policy and participant release form for our patrons and library users. The policy and user agreement have been reviewed by the city attorney, and his suggestions have been incorporated into the documents and will be implemented upon approval of this policy and user agreement. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I will make a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Thank you, and any discussion? I think we can go ahead and waive reading the entire participant release form and the Memory Lab policy.
How many, you know, how many libraries are part of this? This is kind of just a startup, is it
It
not?
is. The New Ulm Public Library was part of the first round. I think it was seven libraries. Yeah, it was a pretty small cohort.
When do you think it will be up and running?
At this point, it really depends on the equipment and our ability to get it installed properly. It's something that keeps getting pushed back, which has been difficult, but I think we're hoping that once this last piece is in place, we can at least start with some of the services of the lab. Those initial formats that we talked about are the ones we want to start with, and then as we go, we can continue to build with those. So I think the hope is within the next 2 months.
Once that's up and running, then are you able to tap into just the others in the program?
As far as,
What you want to achieve or something like that, or look back on something?
we still have contact. The platform that we're using is Slack, but it's an online kind of instant messaging and document sharing platform that we've been using with the other members of the grant. So they've been sharing their documentation that they're using, kind of highlights, programs, policies. We're sharing those documents and have access to them to kind of use them and help us build our policies.
But let's say for some reason one of us is looking for something and it's library that's not part of that. Is there any way to get at it?
You mean a
Or-
library that wasn't part of the grant?
Yeah.
It just would be through whatever contacts you have. So, our, kind of the person who's been coordinating all of that is Siobhan Hagan at the Washington DC Public Library. So she's been a great resource to us to help us find the pieces that we were missing when we went through our big round of purchasing. Some items that she had sent us links to previously were out, so she helped us kind of recircle and find new places to buy those. So she's been our big resource for that. But we could, reach out to other libraries. The Rochester Public Library is not part of the grant, but they have a digitization lab.
They do.
And so Lisa and Chris presented them with them
That's
at the
right.
Minnesota Library Association. So we're through this grant, we're starting to build some of those connections, but our strongest supporters at this point would be those member libraries.
How many do they hope to get on in the end?
Well, my understanding is that they're planning to do another round of the grant and kind of incorporate some of the things they've learned through this first round. From my understanding, it would be a similar number. I think a larger number is kind of unmanageable. So it just depends on how long they decide to continue with adding more people to the grant, how many rounds they decide to do, and then how long they're able to fund it through the funding they've received.
I thought the memory lab policy that is written in our packet here was very informative, and according to a conversation we had earlier, that will end up on the website after, whenever you can get it up.
Right. We are building a memory lab section of the library's website where we'll have the policy. If we create any how-tos or tutorials, any other resources, if we, phone numbers for who to contact about the memory lab, that kind of information will be available on the website in this devoted section.
Anything else?
So are people able to transfer their things, say you have an old movie, and you digitize it? Are you able, or are you encouraging people to edit this product once they have it transferred, or is it just a basic?
We're starting with the basics, so.
No, they're not editing it and putting in
Right.
titles and, making it cute. It's just a straight transfer of the product.
To start, yes.
Okay.
As part of the purchasing, we did purchase an Apple computer, which has more capability for editing, but we just have to make sure we can get the basics down before we expand into some of those things. Right now we're starting with VHS, so transferring VHS to either a CD or thumb drive or, an online cloud storage. Those are kind of the basic things we'll be starting with. And then as we get better and learn more, we can start adding some services. But we're just really starting with the basics right away.
Anything else? All right, then, all in favor of approving resolution 2019-09, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, resolution carries. And is there any other business?
Paulina did ask me to make a request of the board and to kind of find out where you stood on this. Printing the packets uses quite a bit of paper, and the city has a new system, iCompass, available for us to use our packets. She is wondering if the board would be open to foregoing the mailed packets and to use the online format. If there is, are some of you who are willing and others who are not, we could always bring some printed packets to the meeting. But it would, if we can start to move away from the printed ones, that would save us a little bit in paper usage. Because sometimes when we have policies and budgets and surplus catalogs, they do get kind of big.
I like it.
I'm okay with
Fine
it.
by me.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I like the reminders, the little text reminders that we have a meeting.
I really appreciate that, because sometimes that packet's my big thing for reminding me I
Me
have a
too.
meeting next week.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I have to sit down and read this, but if a little email or a text is always very helpful to remind me that I have to do that.
So the general sense I'm getting is we'd be okay moving away from paper, but some kind of a reminder would be welcome. Okay. Thank you.
And would that reminder include a tab that gives us a link to the packet ahead of time, like it did this last month?
I think it could very easily.
I thought that was helpful.
Oh, you do want to be able to look at it before we get.
Yeah.
down
Right,
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we'd have to.
I have to read through it.
Yes.
And I think when she completes the packet, which is usually like a week and a half to 2 weeks before the meeting, she sends out that email, but something in between would be helpful, it sounds like.
Yeah, and then we should be able, we can access it then and be able to look at it at home.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other business? Okay, then we will be adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.